After my husband, David, passed away, the silence in our home became unbearable. 42 years of marriage, and just like that, I was alone. The coffee brewed for one. The untouched side of the bed. The echoes of his laughter that still seemed to float through the hallways. They all reminded me of what I had lost. Nothing felt real, yet everything hurt. I wasn't just mourning his absence. I was mourning a version of myself that no longer existed without him. I wasn't looking for comfort. I didn't want casseroles or sympathy cards. I wanted David. But what I got instead was something unexpected, something that changed my life in a way I still struggle to explain. It started 3 days after the funeral. The sun had barely risen, and I was sitting on the front porch, still in my robe, holding a cup of coffee I had forgotten to drink. That's when she walked over, Jessica, my neighbor from across the street. She couldn't have been older than 31. We had exchanged polite greetings over the years, waved now and then, maybe shared a few brief words at block parties. I always saw her with her headphones in, walking her golden retriever, Max. But that morning, she approached without her dog, without headphones. She held a small tray in her hands and wore a look that wasn't pity, but something more sincere. "I made muffins," she said gently. "Blueberry. I didn't know if you liked them, but they're warm." I stared at her for a moment. The gesture was simple, but something about it pierced through the fog in my heart. I didn't cry. Not yet. But the lump in my throat swelled. "Thank you," I said, my voice barely more than a whisper. Jessica didn't leave. She sat down beside me. We didn't talk much. Just sat there, two near strangers, sharing a plate of warm muffins as the morning sun rose. I remember thinking how odd it was that someone so young, someone I barely knew, could offer me more peace than anyone else had since David died. That morning turned into a pattern. Every day after that, Jessica showed up. Some mornings she brought coffee, sometimes pastries. Once, she brought an old paperback book she thought I might enjoy. I never asked her to come. She just did. We didn't always talk. In fact, many mornings passed in silence. But there was something comforting in her presence, a quiet understanding that didn't require words. Jessica didn't try to fix anything. She didn't give me advice. She simply showed up. One morning, about 3 weeks after David's passing, she asked me if I wanted to go for a walk. I hesitated. Going on a walk felt strange, like I was betraying the quiet morning I had committed myself to. But something about her gentle eyes convinced me. We walked slowly down the neighborhood streets that David and I used to wander together. She didn't say much, and neither did I. She let me feel everything I needed to feel. That walk turned into another ritual. We began walking every morning. Some days we spoke about trivial things, the weather, a new book she was reading, something funny her dog had done. Other days, I opened up about David. I told her how we met in college, how he proposed under the big oak tree near our old library, how he made pancakes every Sunday morning and insisted on dancing with me in the kitchen while they cooked. I told her how we planned to go to Maine for our anniversary before the diagnosis changed everything. Jessica listened. She listened with every part of her being, without interruption or judgment. One day, I told her about the worst moment, the moment I held David's hand as he slipped away. I had never told anyone that story, not even our children. Jessica held my hand, and for the first time since that day, I let the tears come freely. Jessica began helping me around the house. It wasn't something we discussed. She just noticed things. A growing stack of unopened mail. A garden that hadn't been weeded. One Saturday, she showed up in jeans and gloves and began tending to my flower beds. I sat on the porch and watched her, overwhelmed by the simple beauty of it. We made dinner together a few nights a week. We laughed more. Slowly, the walls of my grief began to crack. Not because the pain was gone, but because someone was there to carry a little of it with me. Jessica became a constant in my life, not replacing David, but reminding me that love, in its many forms, still existed. The anniversary of David's passing came faster than I was ready for. I didn't want to face it, but Jessica knew. She showed up early that morning with a picnic basket. "I thought maybe we could take a drive," she said softly. "Just for the day." I nodded. not trusting my voice. We drove to a nearby lake. It was quiet and peaceful, and we laid out a blanket near the water. Jessica handed me a photo she had framed. It was of David and me from one of the neighborhood block parties, laughing together, caught in a candid moment. "You looked so happy that day," she said. I smiled through my tears. I was. We sat in silence for a long time, and then I finally said something I hadn't been able to admit to anyone. "I'm scared of forgetting him, of forgetting the way he looked at me, the way he laughed." Jessica placed a hand on mine. "You won't. You carry him with you. In every story you tell. In the way you smile when you think of him. In every Sunday pancake you make for yourself, even if it hurts." I squeezed her hand. "Thank you. For all of this. For being here. For staying." She looked at me, her voice calm. "When my dad died, no one stayed. People dropped off food, said nice things, but no one sat with me. No one showed up every day. I promised myself if I ever got the chance to be that person for someone else, I would be." That night, I cried more than I had in months. Not because I was broken, but because I was healing. Love doesn't always come wrapped in roses or dramatic declarations. Sometimes, it comes in the form of a neighbor who brings blueberry muffins and sits quietly on your porch. Sometimes, it's someone who sees your pain and doesn't look away. Jessica didn't try to replace David. She didn't try to erase my grief. She became part of the story that helped me carry it. Today, nearly 2 years later, she still comes by every morning, sometimes with muffins, sometimes with nothing at all. And we sit. We talk. We remember. What Jessica did after my husband's passing left me speechless. Not because it was grand, but because it was real, genuine, steady. She gave me more than comfort. She gave me hope. And in that, she gave me life again.